introduce themselves, and I was just sharing a little bit about my perspective. I've done freelancing in addition to my job in some form of fashion for a very long time, although it's been in the nature of building businesses for the most part. Very rarely charging for work, because that's just what I have done. Swapnil, what is your perspective? Let's continue where we left off. When we have somebody new, we'll continue. Is it truly possible to have a job and a freelancing career side by side?
Yeah, obviously. It all depends on how much efforts you make. I mean, in my life and the people that I've seen around, so I had quite an experience from my parents as well. They were quite into freelancing before me. And myself, I started my freelancing since 6 months, I guess. But because of my work, I quite got a chance to work with very good in the industry, including people from Ogilvy as well. I worked with them on a back end, and I worked as an copy editor and as in kind of a storyteller as well. Some of my story reached screens at a few more of the advertisement companies. So yeah, kind of if I think if you make efforts, nothing goes in vain. In some way or other, you will get the gain that you need. So that's all I just wanted to say. I mean, all you need to do is just to start.
So let me ask you this: how do you maintain boundaries between the two? How do you? What has happened in my case is, at one point in time, one looks promising. This is not my. In fact, I had a situation where both of them were fantastic at the same time. So I had to choose, and in some sense, I endangered my job for a while, and I did not face any blowback or consequences because I work a little differently. But if one or the other are, it'll always happen that something. For instance, let's say you're working and you'll get a client's call, and that is not the time you're freelancing, or you're freelancing, or you'll get, maybe you have to quickly jump onto a work meeting. How do you maintain those boundaries between the two?
You know what? A mess is how much it is a mess. But I would say that a mess turns out beautiful when you get the gain out of it. But I would say it's really hard when you do a job along with freelancing. But again, if you want something different in your life and there's something that you love to do, you'll never feel guilty about it. For say a student when comes from school and they go to play and they'll play for 3 hours straight, but they'll not feel tired as in, kind of. But when you'll tell them to just sit and study, they'll not, they'll just tell that, I just came from school and I'm tired. So that is what, so that is what the difference is. If you really love something that you do, you'll never feel tired of it. And I would say, because in my case, I had done quite kind of very much projects for free for my clients. And I don't know what came into my mind that I did that. But yeah, so that was the case. And I think a motivation is that what drives you. I mean, in my case, I'm quite kind of a core science student. And right now I'm 21. But I had a lot of, kind of a forward sight for something. But right now, I'm not just looking at the bigger part, but I'm just taking small efforts to just make my journey more worthy, because I'm just experimenting with my things. And I think everyone should do that, and no one should stop at any point of their life to know you just to focus on one thing. I think in today's era, no one can just get off with a thing. And I mean, in any way, the truth is that you'll never get satisfied of whatever you're doing. And the choice is something that is consistently a process that you have to make. Firstly, as in, if you get in the morning, you have to make a decision of getting up 5 minutes after or 5 minutes before. Or, the choice is yours. So the choice is something that we have to make it like every day and every minute. So it all depends.
God, so much philosophy in that answer.
Oh yeah.
So, so you're saying it's a beautiful mess. Embrace the
Yeah.
mess and don't overthink managing boundaries.
Yeah, just don't wait for yourself to be ready, because no one is ready when something happens.
Yeah, I know if in a forgiving environment that becomes easier. A lot of people work in a lot of critical jobs. So therefore, if there is an overlap that happens between your freelancing career and that, sometimes it's a little difficult. Vipula, what is your perspective on it?
Uh, I think I'll agree with Swapnil that it's a beautiful mess. But if you want it, you have to get in it. Or look, it also depends on how good manager you are. Like you have to have that clarity and that foreseen that what circumstances you can be in while working a full time and also a freelance job. You can also get in trouble sometime. You have to manage the two things at the one time. Sometimes things don't go the way you want. कुछ चीजें ऐसी हो जाती है कि कई बार जैसे आपने बताया कि वही है कि हमारे रेगुलर जॉब के टाइम पे हो सकता है फ्रीलांस का वर्क कुछ आ जाता है या फ्रीलांस टाइम पे हमारा रेगुलर जॉब का वर्क आ जाता है तो इट ऑल्सो डिपेंड्स ऑन योरसेल्फ कि आप किस तरीके से उस चीज को पहले से मैनेज करके चलते हैं वो सारी फैक्टर्स और सारे एलिमेंट्स माइंड में लेकर चल रहे हैं कि अगर आप कुछ काम कर रहे हैं तो दूसरा कोई काम आपको उस समय इफेक्ट ना करे और प्लानिंग इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग अगर आप दो चीजें साथ में कर रहे हैं तो किस तरीके से आप लेके चलते हैं और मेरे ख्याल से हाँ बट दिस एक्सपेरिमेंट एंड दिस चांसेस एवरीवन शुड टेक अगर आपको कुछ लीक से हट के या कुछ अच्छा करना है तो आपको ये चांसेस लेने होंगे एक्सपेरिमेंट ऑलवेज लेकर चलना होगा
So I'll go to a different topic. A lot of people, I don't know how much people pay attention to that here. That is that of the legal aspects of it, right? So in the US, again, my experience in India has been that, and I keep saying India, US purely because I've had the benefit of the 23-24 year odd career that I've had. I've spent it maybe about 55% there and then 45% here. So I have the benefit of doing a contrast. So there what happens is almost exclusively no employer or no company can legally bar you from doing anything outside of your work hours. Okay, so which means if 9 to 5 is a job, they cannot tell you in addition to that, you cannot take up something else. What I have seen happen is if it's an Indian company operating in the US, they still have this Indian mentality. So I work for two separate companies. So one company would say, you're specifically not supposed to work. I saw that text much later. After I had started everything, I was running something parallelly. I just ignored it. Dekha jayega. I just told myself, dekha jayega. And then after this became bigger, I had already switched companies, and this company was like, okay, dude, what you do outside of your professional life is your lookout. We are not bothered about it. As long as that doesn't come and affect your performance here, right? That is, of course, the unsaid part of it. How is it in India, the legal aspect of it? Is that something that people need to pay attention to? Do companies allow for that to happen easily?
I think in India, if we talk about particularly the media field, like they are pretty much flexible about it. Like there's no compulsion that if you are working full time with us, you cannot work outside the work. And just because the number of media agencies, there's a very vast field. Like you have so many options at one go. You can have multiple jobs, you can have multiple freelance options, you can have multiple projects at once in media field particularly if I talk about. So they are pretty much flexible about it. If we talk about the more corporate fields, like they have this legal what should I say, the legal obligation that you cannot work outside if you're working freelance with us. But in media field, I guess it's pretty much flexible here in India.
Kind of the standard thing because most people are working with multiple things anyway.
Yeah.
What has been your experience? What have you heard?
Sorry?
Swapnil, I was asking Swapnil, what has been, what have you heard? Have you encountered any legal embargoes?
Yeah, actually, I encountered that because I joined a job recently, and it is a talent management company. So, talent management as well as celebrity management. So they told me that I can't work as in freelance, and especially for as a creative writer for another freelance. And I had to work in full time. But I actually made it very clear that I had to do it in the interview itself, but somehow they turned on their words. So all I did was I resigned instantly for them. So this was the everything that I did, and for me, I actually took 5 jobs, and I had to resign in some way or other. So I just went for freelancing and studies sideways. So that is my thing now. So that's quite kind of a, rocky field for me, but I think it is quite normal for me because I had been that way throughout my life. So that's quite kind of a now normal for me now.
How do you set goals to manage the two side by side? I know it's
I will tell that I had this term in my mind, and I actually say it myself that it's about effective randomness. For me, that freelance that I did as in editing was um, while I study for at least 12 hours in a day. I think as an average 12 hours before, but now it's like 5 to 8 hours. So what I did was I just used to decide a time slot of 3 to 4 hours, and I sat with the writer uh, in the night at 10. So we would edit till 1 or 2 a.m. and then it would be done for the day. And again, my routine is quite kind of it depends on how my work is. So I just don't have a quite a routine for anything. It all depends on what is in my hand and how much I need to do it. So I would call that as an effective randomness. As long as I'm satisfied with what I'm doing, is something that's quite all right with me.
Viplav, what has been your perspective? How do you set goals to manage the two?
I guess I'll say I was very fortunate enough to be a part of TVF team. TVF is a wonderful place to work on. They're very what should I say? They are very open for everything. They are very flexible around the work cultures. Very creative place as well. So there's no foundation over work that you cannot work outside or something. So even if you don't have work, you don't be bound to come daily to office. So alternate days we can manage our work. Like if you wants to have a project outside, if you can definitely go out and work for that day. So wherever I worked, that was all the spaces were pretty much open with it. You can work outside as well, and also it depends on your planning and your execution, how you manage all those things. So it never have been really challenging to manage both the thing at one go.
Talk about the financial side of it. How do you structure the financial side of it between a job and your freelancing career? Because sometimes, for instance, if your primary job doesn't, let's say you are still performing a computer job, but you don't have a laptop, right? But in order to do your freelancing career, you would definitely require a laptop. Or in the other case, maybe you will have to invest in a laptop or invest in something of that sort. You will have to incur some additional expenditure. How do you manage that financial planning between the two?
I would say I have been these experiences, like I've been there, done that thing while working on a full-time job that only pays you your daily expenses, your rent, and your new other expenses. But if you want to have something extra out of that, your necessities, and if you want to expand your new things and your other what should I say, leisures and all, in order to that you have to work outside. You get new opportunities, you take them for all those things. So what I did till now, what as it on my job, I secure all my payments through my regular job, and through my freelance work. I planned about what I have to do next. I set it up my own agency. I got all the expenses and capitals through my freelance work. I work multiple projects at one go. So all my freelance payments and all my freelance pieces I collected for my next setup as well. And all your job what payments were just for my daily expenses and your necessities.
Okay. Swapnil, what about you? How do you look at finances between the two?
I think for now, what I do is all about writing and things. So something that is basically needed is already with me. And how I manage between the finances is what I get is actually at this very point of time is enough for me. And the rest of the things is already my parents that they do for me, because they are actually they're quite happy that I'm studying as well as I'm doing things, because my twin siblings don't do that. So yeah, that's all about what my parents provide. If I get short of something and my finances are enough, so I just don't go for a job right now. I have some quite of plans for future, so I'm studying for it. And the sideways freelancing is always something that is quite kind of experimental for me. So yeah, as long as I'm getting value out of it, it's all right.
Interesting. So what I have, my own personal experience has been that there have been times where I'm making enough money from what I'm doing on the side, and I've created another, maybe I might have put it off in a stock market investment or a mutual fund investment, because at some point in time, I've taken breaks in my career. I've taken maybe a break of more than a year and a half. It helps me during that time. But when I have earned enough money through my job, I've taken enough money and put it aside because I want to do something on the side. And it helps me, it gives me maybe 5 or 6 month kind of a runway to get started, because you'll never have a perfect situation where you're starting here and you have enough money for this, or you're starting here and you have enough money for this. And I'm a little bit of an exception in the case that I've never looked for money to chase pleasure. For me, pleasure has always come in the form of creative pursuits. So that's how it's been. So interesting, excellent points the two of you have made. So I want to take a second to talk about Swapnil, Viplav raised an interesting point about securing payments. And I think it provides an interesting opportunity for me to talk about our product. So just give me a second while I share my screen. So this webinar is brought to you all by Vouch. One of the things that happened with us is, so since we are talking about the financial aspect, we would take up jobs, and Swapnil, you said that a few minutes ago, saying, I don't know why I did all of those free jobs for certain people, right? I've usually seen that in the absence of a protection mechanism, either the seller takes the risk or the buyer takes the risk. Yeah. Right? So either seller takes a leap of faith on the buyer, or buyer takes a leap of faith on the freelancer. And I've realized that when I went back and looked at some of our own brand management contracts where I was doing this on a freelance basis, that was the case. And I realized there was no safety net to enable that, and which is why we built Vouch. The way Vouch works is, you can tell your client, hey, you want to do this with me, and why don't you start this payment till you actually deliver whatever you promise to deliver. The payment is actually held by Vouch. It is held on behalf of both the freelancer and the buyer. And before the freelancer accepts, if the buyer cancels, obviously the money goes back to the buyer. But after the freelancer accepts the order or the work or the task, Vouch will follow through the agreements that both of them mutually agreed on. The last 2-3 months, there are a bunch of freelancers that I have worked with for my podcast. I run a podcast called Maharajas of Scale. All of that is done through this. So this is as simple as any payment app that you've used. And the only difference from the other one is it is easy to pay and easy to lose control on with the other payment apps. Here, both of you stay in control. That's the beauty of it. Today, and the other aspect is this allows you to build trust really, really quickly, right? Because today, if you tell somebody, the only way you can build trust is by telling them, okay, wait till I deliver. And by the time you've delivered, you've actually taken a hit, right? So what we have seen when people offer a more trustworthy experience, their marketing cost goes down by 75%. Their word of mouth increases 10x, and their sales actually more than double, or revenues more than double. What can you use Vouch for in addition to freelancing? Lots of, wherever there is a time gap between payment and delivery, there you can use Vouch. Business model is first 5 transactions are free. And after that, it's $50 or $5,000, depending on where the person is. If they don't want to pay that, if they pay the flat fee after 5 transactions, there is no fee whatsoever. If you pay 5,000, the freelancer gets 5,000. Neither of you will see any cut. But if you don't want to do that, then you can pay 5. You can say, I will do it on a transaction basis, and it is 5% per every transaction. So those of you who are on the webinar and you haven't actually used Vouch, get on Vouch, try it. So in summary, we've had some great points. And I think Swapnil, beautiful mess and managed randomness. It reflects your personality as a writer that you use those terms. And Viplav spoke about his own experience as a director, working in creative environments, where people allowed for a lot of flexibility. And in some sense, I think it's sheer luck that you work in the media world where there are a lot of people. I've seen people, I know friends who are doing programming and working as assistant music directors and trying to do compositions, people who just play an instrument for a song as a freelancing career. So it is somewhat possible to maintain demarcation, but occasionally there will be an overlap, but embrace it.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
Finances, sometimes that works, sometimes this works. Don't again beat yourself up. That's what you're saying. And then, but more importantly, I think, I am twice your age, Swapnil, I'm 42 today. But when I began, freelancing was not an option. There was hardly, forget freelancing, you didn't have decent, good jobs. I mean, I was fortunate, I'm a chartered accountant and all of that. So I never had to really struggle for work. But before I qualified, I know how tough it was. For most people in the CA world, we see people who've been trying for years to pass as a chartered accountant, and they would neither fully become an auditor nor really fully become an accountant. They would be stuck somewhere in between. But today, I think with thanks to all GST and everything, there's enough work for the accountant world at least, and there are enough opportunities. So therefore, today the economy is bigger, more interesting opportunities are there, whether it is to pursue your passion or find your inner alter ego. Embracing this is truly possible. So I think great points. Let's have some wrap-up points from the two of you, and then I think we'll take some questions if there are any from the audience. Viplav, why don't you go first?
For the questions?
Yeah, any wrap-up points? I think you've made anything in summary that you wanted to add.
I think talking about the freelance work, I would just say that what Swapnil also suggested, that you have to take, if you have that zeal, new that you want to try new things, you want to get out of your comfort zone, just go out, just take the first step. Rest the universe will do the work, and you will end up whatever you are thinking to do or whatever you want to achieve. All you have to do is just come out of your comfort zone and take the first move.
Awesome. Swapnil?
I would say that I'm quite a newbie to begin with something quite kind of a thought or quote. But I would just say that for me, if I started as in from home, and that is the fact that I never went to college. I had been doing my degree with a distance course, and I got my first project when I was waiting for my board results. So that is when I got to know that this is something that I can do. So I just started from there, and today I got that was the first project actually, and then I ported till my degree ends, and then again I started it. So I would just say that if you know that something can be done, just find a way through it. I mean, LinkedIn is the best place to start with for making your personal brand and getting to know people that can help you or you can help them with. So just tell people that what you can do, and the rest is something that you'll get to do.
So put yourself
Just that. Yeah.
put yourself out there is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So there's a question for you, Viplav. Did you face any problems when you started freelancing while with TVF? I think you've already answered that in some form of action.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I said. I was very fortunate to work with TBF. Like they were pretty much flexible about working out as well. But also there's also some.
You can bitch about them. We won't tell TVF that you hate them.
I think there's nothing to bitch about TVF. That would be the most desirable place to work on if someone would ask for. So yeah, but some or the other hand, you will face some problems like managing the time or managing the pace as well. Like I had to travel a lot for the freelance work as well sometimes. I used to go to Goa from Mumbai for my freelance work sometimes. So that you have to manage some of the problems of traveling, and the time management is you face. Apart from that, I don't think if you plan something prior to your task, you can do it definitely.
Interesting. We have a question from Rima who's saying, did you ever feel like quitting? If ever, how did you deal quitting freelancing, and how did you deal with it?
Quitting freelancing.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you're doing both, did you feel like quitting freelancing, and how did you deal with it?
I would take this question as like I would never feel to quit freelancing. I would rather quit my full-time job and do freelancing for living. I guess freelancing gives you more option and more liberty to work on. Actually, you would never want to quit freelancing, I guess.
So I think let's add a little more color to that, right? In a job, you can't choose your boss, you can't choose your colleagues,
Yeah.
you can't choose your customers, right?
Yeah.
Now, in freelancing, you can choose almost all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that might sound a little theoretical, because sometimes a client looks great but turns out to be bad, or a client starts bad but turns out to be great, right? So I think many times what happens is a bad client, had ho gaya yaar, I don't want to do this anymore, right? So there are some clients and some jobs that actually push us to our limit, either professionally or financially or emotionally. I'll give you an example. Right now, there is a freelancing tech contract that in the previous company I took up 5 years ago. We delivered that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but that client never truly started using the product. 5 years later, they have woken up. Every 18 months, they wake up once and ask me, okay, does this functionality exist? I'm like, what are you doing? I've kept life for you for so long. 40% of our money is still stuck there. And I voluntarily left it. This is before voucher, okay? If it voucher was there, I could have already been paid. So 40% of the money is still stuck there. And then they keep coming back and asking me, does it exist? You can't wake up every 18 months and then ask me, have you done this? Have you done that? And when it comes to that client, I'm like, I keep telling myself, I should have never done that. Maybe never started that business in the first place. So Rima, possibly you are having a situation like that, but trust me, the best thing to do is fire clients like that, because you can. You may not be able to fire your job. You may not be able to fire your boss. You may not be able to fire your colleagues or your customers in your job. But in freelancing, you can do all of the above. But again, done with good intentions, good balance, keeping in mind that you've done your best to service the client, right? We have a couple more questions. Ria has one. We'll see. How to convince a client that I can do their project with my job? Did you have to lose a project because of a job?
Up, up, up. Well, what I think is, first of all, if a client trusts you, I mean, a little bit of it, so they'll come to you, first of all. If you had quite kind of a talk on the initial level, that means the client has some part of the trust already in you. So all you do is just make it more stronger by telling or showing them the work samples that you've done. And even if they're not convinced, you can tell them, to cross check your clients, your previous clients. I mean, the people you have worked with before. It is quite hard to start as in a fresher in this part of genre, but this is a truth that in freelancing, trust is something that is quite more worth than your skills itself. So if you are so fortunate to do that, or you are quite lucky to have those skills, so you can do it. But in all, I would say that it is not too hard to build trust because you are trusting them as well. So that's kind of a mutual that comes.
Be transparent with them, right?
Yeah.
To be transparent, most people, they're a little scared, right? Let's be honest. They're scared. Okay, what if they come to know that I have a job,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there, like you rightly pointed out, you have testimonials from your other client, and you also have samples of past work. Right? So as long as you build trust with these three elements, and you're reasonable. And the other thing, one aspect where I have seen a lot of Indian freelancers, although the scene is changing, is it overcome it. They think they can manage something, and what happens is in that overcommitment, they're unable to deliver. That can be a huge trust breaker, right? Because you might have great intentions, but as John Lennon says, life is what happens to you when you're busy doing other things.
Yeah.
So life must happen. So give that 40% or 20 or 20 to 40% allowance for some surprises in life to happen. Then you can always manage that job and the additional project. Right?
Yeah. Even if you're not able to do the things on time, just make a genuine reason for it. I mean, you have to have a strong point to make your point valid on it, because everyone has a problem. At the end of the day, everyone is a human with errors.
Right.
So this is the beauty of freelance, actually. People get to know in person, and you don't have to, quite kind of be into a chain of something, because I've seen in jobs what they do is they restrict your creative boundaries. So if something has to be done, it has to be done by the perspective of your boss or someone in the higher position of your genre. So this is something that is the beauty of freelance, but at the same time, it can have your back in a wrong way as well. So just find the midway to it.
Excellent. We'll take Viplav. I think you can answer this question. How do you manage your schedule? Sometimes we have to lose sleep over work. And I'm thinking P4 Designs is saying literally lose sleep. I'm not talking about obsess over this delivery where you're thinking, will I be able to deliver something of that sort? But he or she's possibly saying, okay, I have X. I don't have enough time to deliver this. So therefore, I have to stay up late in the night and lose sleep. I think that's what he or she is intending. What is your perspective?
I think being in the media field, you have always have to sacrifice your sleep. Uh, there's no fixed schedule of yours that you have to follow. There's unlike the corporate jobs, you have to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, whatever. But being in the media field, you always have to keep yourself up for the task for the long hours, to sacrifice your sleep and compromise on your schedules. On the other hand, you always have to keep the balance between your health and your professionalism as well. So I sometimes ended up in the situations like you have to work for the longer hours, and we used to work like 15 hours, 16 hours of shoot, and after that you have to come home, have 2 3 hours of sleep, and you have to get up and go to the shoot again. So you should be mentally prepared for that. You have to work for the longer hours, and also at the same time, whatever time you get, you have to keep yourself healthy as well. You need a lot of energy, a lot of mental strength to work these longer hours. So you have to keep yourself fit. You have to keep yourself mentally very prepared for that. Some of the other ways you have to be prepared for these kind of situations while working both ways, like your full-time job and freelance.
So I'll offer, just because of the sheer amount of time. When I was young, I didn't pay too much attention to losing sleep. But I think longer run, if something is making you lose sleep over a very long time, and it is making you go out of balance, I think, and when I say longer run, if it is happening 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it is something to think of. That means somewhere either you're overcommitting, or you are burdening yourself too much, or you're letting all sorts of unreasonable demands being thrown at you, right? So that's one thing to do, right? That's one. There is an interesting book called Why We Sleep by a guy called Matthew Walker. There is something called as an energy. All of us are energetic at different times of the day. There are people who are energetic in the morning. There are people who are energetic in the evening. For me, my energy times and creative times vary greatly. I'm energetic in the morning, but my creative side kicks in really sometimes in the evening or late night. Over the years, that's how it's become. But I still sleep around, in a say now, I don't stay up till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to do it, to actually indulge my creative side. So I would say, watch yourself over a period of maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, to see when you do your best work, right? And therefore manage your schedules in such a way that when your energy meter is high, you do that work. And in between, get your sleep. Getting that 8 to 9 hours of sleep that is recommended by anybody. It's okay. Like Viplav had a day shoot, he worked 18 hours. That is okay. I don't think anybody is suggesting that you should not have things like that. But doing 18 hours for 3 hours, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years can definitely have a bad impact. And so I'm thinking, if you're meaning literally losing sleep, if you're metaphorically meaning you're losing sleep, where you're obsessing, hey, will I be able to deliver? Will I be able to do a quality job? That's a good thing to have. But maybe sometimes you're taking up jobs outside of your comfort zone, which is also good because you're pushing yourself. It's a good thing, but in that case, manage that by reaching out, collaborating with other people, taking some advice, asking them, hey, what did you do in this kind of a situation? So all of that. So awesome. I think we've had excellent points. In summary, you can do it. Managing this, embrace the mess, go for effective randomness. I'm stealing a lot of words from Swapnil's comments, actually. And it is truly possible to pull it off, but have fun, keep your balance. And it might be great for you to secure your payments through Vouch. Right? So excellent. Swapnil, any closing comments from you before we wrap up?
I think there are a lot of things that you might have in one's life, but all you need to do is just look at the bright side, along with looking at the dark sides as well, because dark sides are something that can mess you in a wrong way, but the bright side will put your mess into a beautiful environment as well. So your life is all about balances. Till you don't knock off your balance, everything is all right, and you don't need to bitch about anything else. So as long as you're getting that you want, I mean, in a little bit as well. So I think it's all right. Just make it to a level where you want it to be. That's it.
Viplav, your closing comments.
I think being an optimistic person, I always felt that you should always think about a step up in your life, in your career. So I've been always in that situation that I desire to be someone, to achieve something, to be somewhere. But after getting that thing, I always had that zeal to just go up, step up, and have something more than that. So you should also always have that seed in you that you want to do a step up in your life. So I guess everyone should have that perspective, that optimism, and that zeal that I have to do more. I have to do more, and always believe in themselves that they can do that. I think if you think that way, that I can do that, you're almost halfway there. What I would suggest, that you have to have believe in yourself that you can, and the rest of the hard work and somewhere sometime the luck has also plays a good part. So all these elements drive you to the places where you want to be. So all I want to say is just if you want to achieve something, just have belief in yourself, and always be optimistic for that, and just start from somewhere. You will end up get what you want.
So if I were to steal metaphors from Star Wars, um, don't become Darth Vader and may the Force be with you, is what we are.
I agree.
Awesome. Okay, we might want to repeat the session. I think it's been a great session. The same topic. We'll have folks reach out. Some people had trouble. Maybe we'll give it 2 or 3 weeks and redo this topic again. And would love to have you all back on then. So thanks for your time. And for those people that attended, we'll have and joined a little late, we'll have a recording uploaded. You can watch some of it. And secure your payments through Vouch, guys, and have a great weekend ahead. Bye, Swapnil. Bye. Viplab, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.